Good evening, everybody. My name is Mark Krebs. I am a travel trainer, a mentor, a leader, a presenter on Team Sunset. I'm a gold qualified agent with Team Sunset as well. Welcome to your booking domestic and international airline flights training for August. This is one of the most important trainings that you're going to get because you need to know how to book airline tickets alone, not just with packages, and where to find those best deals for your clients. Booking airline tickets is a little bit different because we do not receive commission on those. So we do need to charge service fees for those. And I will show you guys and teach you guys how to charge those service fees and what they should look like, in my opinion, for those fees. But before we get into that, I want to bring into the conversation Stephanie Crosser. Stephanie has been with us on Team Sunset for 15 months now. She is originally from the Phoenix, Arizona area, Scottsdale to be exact. Now she is living in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in that area, in one of the suburbs. And Stephanie is a flights guru. Stephanie has booked hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of flights in the past 15 months, but that was really all she was booking, with the exception of a few packages when she first started out. So I want to bring Stephanie into this training so that she could talk about her best practices as well before we got into where to find these flights and how to actually book them for your clients. So Stephanie, welcome to the training and thank you for sharing your wisdom tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Um, so a couple of best practices when it comes to booking flights. The very first thing is going to be being upfront and transparent with your research fee or your booking fee, whatever you refer to it as. If you don't tell your clients upfront that it's going to be there, they may be surprised, they'll be thrown off, and they may not be return clients for you. Transparency is always 100% the best practice, and most people will not be turned off by that. Most people are open to paying for your expertise. And that was one of my biggest hiccups for the first, the first, I don't know, 8 to 10 months that I was selling flight tickets. I would have made so much more in my first year if I had charged research fees upfront. And now I do that repeatedly, of course. Yeah, anything specific you want me to hit on, Mark?
No, talk about where you were getting all of these clients for your flights. You were doing a lot of flight only bookings as well. Talk about where you were getting those clients from, Steph.
Yeah, so like Mark said, I did book more flights than anything else. I did a couple of packages, which included flights. But when I was doing flights only, what I found was that a lot of people had previously booked packages, or they had booked hotels or cruises without their flights. And so I would find them on social media groups. I'd find them talking in person, talking at the grocery store, just people saying, oh my gosh, I've already booked my vacation, but I don't have flights. Can you help me with that? So what I found was that I wasn't going to get commission on those packages, but I knew that if I helped them with the last piece that they needed help with, that I could bring them in and they could possibly be repeat clients later. A lot of leaders will say, don't book flights because you don't get commission, but I wasn't afraid of that because I was looking at the big picture long term. I wanted those clients to come back to me later. And many of my clients from the first year have come back to me and booked bigger packages and not just flights with me. I actually just had a client come back to me and say, hey, I'm having my honeymoon in 6 months. It's a year after we got married, but will you book the whole honeymoon package for us? Because last year you helped me with something, flights only, right? So a lot of social groups, I look at public groups, I look at groups in my area. I kind of just try to stick to my area. Mostly because a lot of people like the idea of helping a local small business. So I'll search groups was for Phoenix and Scottsdale. Now I'm finding a lot of groups in my new area. But so those are places that I found clients initially. Aside from that, I had a lot of word of mouth clients, and you will find that if you give good service, your clients will tell other people. And I like to share this story. I know Mark's going to ask about it if I don't tell it. So I'll go ahead and tell it. In December of 2022, we had the Southwest meltdown, and a lot of people were stranded at the airports because their flights were being canceled or delayed. And I had some clients that were stuck in Orlando, Florida, and thankfully I was able to help them change their flight before they even noticed that their flights were canceled. I was watching those as soon as I knew as the meltdown was happening. I went down my list of clients who were currently traveling, and I went in and fixed all of those things for them. Those specific clients that were in Orlando, they were my family. So that was helpful, but basically I just went in, changed their flights, contacted them and said, hey, your new flight looks like this. I've extended your hotel stays out, and I've got you set to fly home on New Year's Eve instead of whatever day it was supposed to be, like the 28th. So while they were in the airport on that Saturday, there was a group of 10 of them. While they were in the airport on Saturday, they walked around the airport, handed out my business cards, and they said, hey, call my daughter. Call my daughter. She'll help you fix this flight. Which I did. I willingly helped people that were not going to make me any money. I didn't charge them any extra fees to do that. I just basically said, hey, let me help you out. And I'd say a good 80 to 90% of those people have come back to me this year and booked other trips with me because I helped them on that trip. So sometimes it's just about going the extra mile and helping those who may not even be your clients think of the big picture. And that's basically what's gotten me my repeat clients from the last several months.
All right. Thank you for sharing that, Steph. And yes, you read my mind about talking about that story. Steph and I have been in that situation a couple of times, actually, with other agents where we have helped talk them through this process of helping out their clients when they've gotten stuck due to weather delays. And so we both pride ourselves on helping our clients with those flights. I've been in a similar situation. I've got clients over in Germany right now who faced a major delay in Chicago on their departure flight to Germany. And because of that delay, I got on the phone with United. And at first, I got on the phone with Lufthansa, which was the airline they were flying on over to Germany from Chicago. And I said, hey, this is what's going on. Are my clients going to make their connecting flight? Lufthansa said yes. But if I was worried about it, to call United because they were the ones who had ticketed the flight. And this is a flight only booking for me. So I called United because I was worried that they weren't going to make the connecting flight because I had given them an hour and 45 minutes in Frankfurt to clear customs, recheck their bags, go back through security and everything, and to get on their next flight to Dusseldorf. Well, I got on the phone with United, and United saw the service disruption in Chicago, that the plane took off an hour late. And the United rep said, no, they are not going to have enough time in Frankfurt to make that connection. So what we did was I stayed on hold with United for about 45 minutes while they tried to uncheck in my client and change the flight. So they tried to rescind the check-in and so that they could change the flight to a later flight from Frankfurt to Dusseldorf. They were unable to do that. So United got back on the phone with me and said that they would call me back within an hour to 2 hours because it was 3 o'clock in the morning over in Germany where they needed to call, and they were doing system updates. So I get a call about an hour and a half later saying, Mr. Krebs, it is done. Your client's flights have been changed and everything. So your clients are going to be taking the later flight in the afternoon from Frankfurt to Dusseldorf. They will make it to Frankfurt still same day, just a little bit later on in the day. So all because of that simple act of looking out for our clients. Even though it's just a flight only booking, you still want to provide that highest level of service to your client. So, because I didn't know if my clients' cell phones were going to work in Dusseldorf or in Frankfurt, I emailed my clients and then I called the airport and asked them to be paged because I knew they were on the ground in the airport. And I left a message at the airport for them to tell them what was going on. So, and I followed that flight through the night and watched that flight and kept them informed of the other flight for the rest of the day. So that's just us helping out our clients with their flights. And you want to do that whether or not they book a package with you. You want to be there to watch their flights. You want to be there so that you can be on top of any delays, any issues with connections, so that your clients don't have to deal with it. Okay. So that's just a little bit about dealing with the ins and outs of flights and what to do if you have an irregular operation situation is what it's called an irregular ops situation. But that's not what you guys are here to learn about. What you guys are here to learn about is where to book your flights. Because we don't get commission, you will need to charge a service fee to your clients for looking up and booking these flights for them. You can charge whatever you want for these commissions because it is your business. So you can charge $10, you can charge $50, you could charge $150 if you wanted. What I do is I charge my clients $25 per ticket for domestic flights and $75 for international flights and $100 change fee per ticket if there are any changes that need to be made. Because the time involved varies greatly when booking these domestic and international flights. I can book a domestic flight in 20 minutes, bing, bang, boom, no problem. But international flights take longer to book because there are more moving parts in process that you have to work on with your client. Because once you've booked the flight, and especially if it's not a direct flight, you've got to be able to coordinate the connection times, clearing of customs. You want to give your client at least 2 hours, at least, and I would recommend 3 based on experiences. And I used to work for United Airlines here in the States, up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So you want to give your client at least 3 hours of connection time if you possibly can, so that they can clear customs, go recheck their bag at the counter, and then clear security to get back to their connecting flight without having to worry about whether or not they're going to miss the flight or have to run like in Home Alone to their flight. Because we want them to still have a relaxing trip, whether they are going or coming back from that trip. Okay. So, in addition, with international flights, another service that you can provide, and what I provide to my clients, is I ask them for copies of their passports, copies of any visas they may need, and I will scan those, or I'll have my clients scan them and email them to me, and then I will upload them into the airline systems. So for this trip to Germany, I had to upload the passports for both of my clients and 2 blank visa pages of their passport books so that they could enter and exit the country legally. So that's why it takes longer, because you've got to coordinate those connections. And when we go over our examples of where to find these flights, I'll show you what you're going to look for. So you've got more moving parts with that international trip than you do with a domestic trip. So let's take a look at, there are several different places that you can look for your domestic flights and your international flights as well. A lot of these cross-reference. So one place that you can look for your domestic flights is on Evo Rewards. So you just go to Evo Rewards in the back office, click on My Evo Rewards and log into that. Just go to Travel. Click on Flights. I'm going to go from my local airport and I'm going to go and visit Stephanie in Philadelphia. Because I really, really, really want to go see her. One passenger, click on search. What'd you say, Steph?
No, this is Joanna. I wanted to say I just booked the flight to Europe actually here, and it was the best price that they had, everybody had.
Yep. And you can look on Evo Rewards for your international flights as well. So this is another area that you can go and look. So the best flights here for me going to Philadelphia to go visit Steph for one day and just do a turnaround flight the next day would be $315.40 per person. Sure, I can do that. I can do that, Vicky, no problem. So you put in your from, so whatever airport you're flying from. So we're just going to say Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So if you don't know the airport code, you can either Google it or just put in the city name and it'll come up. To Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And you want to pick an international airport or a regional airport. You don't want to pick like a smaller airport like North Philadelphia or Wings Field, because that's not going to have commercial flights. Then you just click on search. Or you're going to select your dates first. And then you're going to click on search. And this is going to bring up your flight schedules.
Hey, Mark, how come one stop's like 296 and two stops is like 963?
It depends on the airline. So let's just take off that one. It's going to depend on the airline. So Frontier Airlines is one of the cheapest airlines out there, but there are no inclusions with it. You have to pay for your check bag. You have to pay for your seat. You have to pay for your carry-on. You have to pay for everything on that flight, on those flights. They are a truly low-cost, ultra low-cost airfare air carrier, and I do not recommend them. Them and Spirit Airlines, I do not use for my clients because they have some of the worst delays and cancellations. With them being an ultra low cost carrier, you get no inclusions. With anything, the leg room in the planes is absolutely horrid. You will be stuck sitting on the tarmac for a couple of hours. A lot of the time. So, and you also have to look at the plus 1 day. You have to look at when you're actually getting in. So if you look at the Frontier Airlines one, you depart on Monday, August 28th. You don't get there until Tuesday, August 29th. That's another reason why it's so cheap.
Who's the
just-
best?
Southwest is one of the best. Stephanie swears by them. And I try to book a lot of my clients with them because you get two 50-pound bags included with Southwest, and then there are 4 tiers of tickets that you can buy, but you still get your baggage already included in all 4 of those tiers of tickets. It's just a matter of priority boarding, a premium drink on flights over 176 miles. If you get the business select plan, you get priority boarding, you get the express check-in, you get priority screening. So, and then from there, I would go Delta, United, American, and those are the 4 that I use. Alaska, if you're flying the West Coast. So those are the 5 that I use. So like, even though Americans got this fairly okay flight, you're still overnighting in Chicago and getting into Philly at 8:11 in the morning the next day. But if you scroll down, see, I could leave on United for 766.40 at 11:18 in the morning, connect in Chicago at O'Hare, get into Philly at 5:13 p.m., and then leave Philly at 6:25 in the morning, and then get back into Sioux Falls at 2:29 p.m. So Darlene, sometimes you can actually find better prices booking one way. You're absolutely right. Sometimes it can be $100 higher. Sometimes it can be $400 higher. It just depends on the route that you're going. I'm working on a client right now. I'm trying to get him flights to and from Charlottesville, Virginia, down to Miami, and I'm trying to find the best economical way because he needs 2 nights in a hotel, round trip flights, and tickets to a football game. And I'm really trying to work on that for him. And the budget is $500 to $600 on a football game weekend in Miami, Florida. So I'm trying to work the best magic that I can. And it's becoming more and more tricky. So I've been waiting to book these flights to see if the cost comes down and comparing the round trip versus 2 one-way tickets on 2 different airlines. So sometimes you need to look at 2 different airlines as well. What I would suggest for the New England area, Darlene, would be to look at Southwest. Because St. Louis is a hub for Southwest. So I would look into them. So you can use my deals for booking travel and flights. Now, again, just remember to look at that plus 1 day. Another thing that I like to do is I like to book directly with the airlines and compare their prices to what everybody else has as well. So I will go direct to southwest.com. I'll go direct to Delta or United or AA.com and book my trips there. Because 1, I know if there are any issues, since it's been booked direct with the airline, they're going to take care of my clients no matter what, because it was booked directly with them. You have to be careful with these third parties, including Expedia, because your clients are going to be the first ones bumped off that flight. Same thing goes for my Evil Rewards, because if you look up here in the search bar, it says All Savings Travel. This is technically a third party. So, but we can use them, but you just have to be careful because you're not paying the full fare and your clients could be bumped off of an overbooked flight first, involuntarily bumped. So you want to make sure of that and take that into consideration as well, especially if it is a time sensitive matter that they need to get to, such as a business conference, a funeral, a wedding. Yep, Kimberly says you can buy gift cards for Southwest for $450. They're $500 gift cards at Sam's Club. So you can do that as well. Delta does them. United, I believe, does them as well. So you can prepay for your flights that way, but you're not technically getting a prepaid ticket. You're just using them. It's like a flight credit is what you're getting with those. Now, one other place that you can look for your international tickets that may potentially pay you commission is Centrav. This is an airline consolidator that we use. And Centrav does, I only look at them for international trips, because when I'm looking at domestic, I find them to be way higher because they are a consolidator airfare. And what consolidator means is that it's like a wholesale price. So I'm going to show you the same Sioux Falls to Philadelphia flights. For comparison.
How do you get to there?
You just go to centrav.com. And I'll put it in the chat box. Okay. So centrav.com. You just sign up for it. The instructions are in Travel Cafe to sign up for Centrav. So same flight. We're looking at one connection here. And sometimes Centrav takes a little while to open up for some reason. I don't know why it's buggy, but they charge a service fee. So here, if you look at this first one on United Airlines, the published fare that you would see on United.com would be $872.41. More than likely. And we'll go to United.com and compare that. And let's see if it's actually correct. Because this is why I like to go to the airlines websites as well, to compare everything, to make sure that it is correct. Sorry, this is my client's trip. Vicky, you're going to always use the client's credit card for every booking that you make. So yes, it is going to be the exact same flight, $873 on United.com. And let me just look at the return flight, 625, 747, getting in at 1031. So it's the exact same flight in basic economy. So you can always go in and compare the fares on Centrav. So 872.40 for one person on United, 872.41 on Centrav. But Centrav charges a $15 service fee because they're a wholesaler. Okay, so you've got to take that into consideration and you charge that to your client. You do not pay that. So 887.41 is what you would charge your client plus your $25 or whatever service fee for booking this flight if you were to book it through Centrav or if you were to book it through United.com. Yes, Austin, it would definitely be better to go with United.com. However, I am going to show you guys something here with an international trip that I've got going on right now. So I'm going to give you an idea of what you can do with an international trip. If it'll come up. And it should because it's international. With Centrav, you can actually earn commission on some international trips and very, very rarely on domestic trips. No, Centrav does not send the $15 to us. That is their service fee. You charge the client, Evelyn, the $25 yourself.
Okay.
But this is where those consolidator and commissionable fares come in. So you guys see up here on the top of the matrix where it says commissionable published fares and it says 57.40. This is the amount of commission that you would earn on this flight. So let's just select this flight on American. Maybe. There we go. So it's $28.70 a ticket that you would earn on this flight. So it's not very much. I would rather earn my $75 in instant commission. Now
And they're
you
not charging anything either, are they?
not on this one, no, because it's a published fare. It's a commissionable published fare. But let's just go ahead and confirm this flight and take a look at it. Now it brings you to here. Down here, you can upgrade them to business class, and it takes your commission total up to $830. So you could do that if your client wanted to fly business class. But if we look at this a little bit differently, let's say we look at the consolidator rate. You can actually charge a service fee using the consolidator rate and build it into the price of the ticket. So we'll do the same flights to Dusseldorf, departing tomorrow. Coming back on Saturday.
So international Canada, can you use this for Canada?
You can. You can, but it would be better to go. You're going to get better rates with the airlines directly.
So when you fly international, like I have a client that's going to fly out of Canada to come back to Lexington.
Mhm.
What airline would you put them on?
I'd look at Air Canada first. Yeah, I'd look at Air Canada or Delta or United, or Lexington's a regional airport. So check and see what airports or airlines come in and out of there. And I would look at there first. So let's look at the consolidator fare. So this is a cash discount of $121.52. But the credit card price is $71.8704. Okay, so there's a difference. So if your client was paying by check, which they would not be able to do in this situation because the flight's tomorrow, they would get a $121.52 discount. Now let's just confirm this. Normally, there is an area that you can actually charge a service fee. But on this particular one, you're not going to be able to. So normally you can charge a service fee on these consolidator fares and have it built right into the price of the tickets, and your client pays that. So Christine, when you book directly with the airlines, you are going to charge your clients using something like PayPal for Business, Venmo Business, Cash App Business, or Square. Vicky, no, because it's still going to be treated as a credit card. You can do Zelle if you want to, Austin. Just make sure that you have a business account set up, because there are IRS rules that once you take $600 or more in a payment, these companies have to send you a 1099-K, and you have to file that with your taxes. So like for me, I have to file an IRS Schedule C and 1099-K if I make over $600 in instant commission on any of my different platforms that I use. I use PayPal Business, Venmo Business, Cash App for Business, and Square are the four that I use. So Evelyn, when they pay that consolidator service fee, if you were to add it into the ticket price, that would get paid to Centrav. Centrav sends it to Archer. Archer sends it to you. That is subject to the 80% rule. So the 80-20 rule. So you receive 80% of that commission, and then Archer receives the other 20%. Elena, it is 600 in a year. So if you guys make $600 in a year in commissions or more, then Archer will be sending you an IRS 1099-K. So I hope that makes sense. So, like I said, there are a lot of different ways to book airfare, guys. There's usually a place, Vicky, over here on the left-hand side that you can add the fee. It's not giving me that place right now for some reason. I'm not sure why it's not giving me that place. So no, your IATA number is going to already be hooked into your account because you're going to register with the IATA number. So Centrav is already going to know that you work with Archer Travel. Now, if you're booking direct with the airline, because we do not receive commission on flights only from the airlines, you do not have to put our IATA number in there. Only if you're booking with Centrav, and it would have your account would have already been registered with the IATA number. Does that make sense, Christine? Okay, perfect. All right. The nice thing about Centrav is that you can put it on hold until 11:55 p.m. Your local time without having a payment. So your client does have a little bit of time to think about it, but not much. Now, if you were to book it direct with the airlines, then your client would have to pay right up front to secure those tickets. So if you were to go in and start looking at these prices at 12:01 a.m., and I was to do it tomorrow, the 16th of August, 12:01 a.m. Central Time, which is where I am, I would have until 11:55 p.m. on August 16th to pay for these tickets. Otherwise, they would be forfeited. Does anybody else have any other questions about booking domestic and international flights? Really, what it boils down to, my recommendations is that you guys check multiple sources for the best rates, but make sure that you're not using a third party. You can check Expedia for flight costs and compare them, but just remember that Expedia is still a third party site because you're not technically booking direct with the airline.
I
You're
have a
booking-
question.
Yeah.
If your customer is on the phone with you, and do you go into these suppliers while your customer is on the phone?
I do, yes.
Okay.
If I have time to do it and it's going to be a quick research, then yes, especially if it's for domestic. Now, if it's going to be a long process, I take all the information that I need from my client and I say, hey, I will get back to you within 24 to 72 hours with this.
And is that typically, do you have some leeway with timing so that you can take 24 hours to research and then get back to get a form of payment?
Absolutely. Most people do not need to. Most people are planning their vacation 6 months out at least. So we have time to take a look at these flights, no matter what supplier we're using. If we're booking a flight only, sometimes there are emergency situations when we have to book them right away. But most of the time, if it's for a well thought out, if it's a well thought out vacation plan, then yes, we absolutely have that 24 to 72 hour leeway. Just make sure you are getting back to your client within that time frame so that you are showing them that you are trustworthy and are going to get back to them in a timely manner like you say you're going to.
Right. I'm just thinking, okay, I use Centrav. I have 12 hours, let's say, to get back to my client and get a form of payment to secure the particular booking. But like with going to the supplier direct, you're saying we need to have that form of payment on hand. Do I take their credit card information while I'm taking the details down? And how does that work?
No, because you're going to be building a quote for that client first, and then you are going to be going over that quote with them.
Right. Okay. That's
So you're
what I
not going to
thought.
you're not going to take credit card information with the initial phone call unless you are charging a research fee right up front, which is what I
Right.
do. I charge $25 for domestic trips research and $50 for international right up front.
Right. And so that I understand. I just feel like, oh gosh, I go to Southwest and I find the exact itinerary. I build the quote. Does that itinerary exist after I leave, let's say, leave the Southwest and go to call my customer? Or send them the quote and they take 5 hours to decide?
You just have to rebuild it. That's all you have to do.
Oh, okay. So the price may vary.
Right. The price, and you always tell your client this price may vary up to and until booking.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I,
And I need to include that in my quote.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead,
Thank you.
Steph.
if I can add something too, Rachel, during your call with them or you're qualifying when you're asking their questions, you can ask them too, like, are you ready to make a deposit? Are you ready to pay the flights 100%, knowing that you will probably have to pay those up front, even if you can do payments on the rest of the package. When we're doing flights only, you can ask that question. Are you ready to make that payment 100%? Because I can quote you, but prices could change until you make that booking. So if they're doing flights only and they're ready to make that payment, then you can always take that card over the phone and say, all right, as soon as you give me the green light, I'll book it for you. So if you find exactly what they're looking for, send them a message, whether it be an email, a text, or get them on the phone. They may be at work. So you may just be able to send them a text and say, hey, I found you this flight. These are the quick details. Do you want it? And if they're ready to go, they're going to say, yes, green light. And then you've already got their information. So there's a lot of ways that you can approach it, but I just
wonder if there's like a real smooth execution, because I'm booking my first flight only, hopefully booking it tomorrow. And of course, I just want to be, as eloquent as possible as I'm trying to nail down a price so that she feels confident with the booking.
For sure. I have, I'm currently working with a client going to Rome in October, and it's not a very well thought out process for him. It's very last minute considering it's international, but what he did say is if you can find a flight that's less than 15 hours, they do have seats lying down, and it arrives by this date and this time, then book it without calling me. So sometimes your clients will be that specific. A lot of times they won't, but I've already got his credit card information. So I know that if I find a flight that meets these details, we're going to go ahead and book it. And also oftentimes when you find somebody in an emergency or a last minute situation, they'll throw you their credit card and say, do what you can do.
Right.
we want to be ethical about making those decisions. So don't book them a $5,000 trip, you know, first class from Arizona to California. Like, it's not necessary,
Yeah,
right? So,
exactly, right. Okay, well, I thank you so much. I think I can put the right language together.
you
Perfect.
can do it. Be confident.
I
Yep.
will.
You'll be good, Rachel. So, Elena, no, use Vax. Absolutely use Vax because you're booking direct with the airlines with Vax. That is the difference between Vax and Expedia. Expedia is technically a third party, but Vax is not. Vax is tied directly into the systems of the airlines. So you are actually booking direct with the airlines when we're using Vax.
Mark, it doesn't matter which supplier on Vax I am using, or they are only specific suppliers like JetFun, FunJet, Apple, or all they have the access.
They all have access directly with the airlines. So
Vax will let you book a flight only.
Vax will let you book flights only as well.
Thanks.
So Christine, when you book directly with other consolidators for international flights, do you think they require the IATA number? What do you mean other consolidators? Because the only consolidator that I know of, and Steph, correct me if I'm wrong, is Centrav.
Centrav is the only one that I work with as well.
Yeah, I haven't heard of any others.
If you do have another, Delta Vacations is another one you can book flights on after you've been with us for 2 months. But it's not a consolidator per se, but your IATA will be attached to them. But you're probably not going to find another consolidator for flights unless you're a little more in-depth experienced. There are people who use other systems, but probably not at our level.
Yeah, and I've been doing this for 9.5 years, and I've never heard of any other consolidators for airfare. So, Austin, do we see better rates on our own sometimes, or is it the same rate if they went on there without us? Sometimes we're getting better rates. And one thing that I tell my clients and my prospective clients is that the difference between booking with us and versus booking yourself is that we're going to provide you value. We are going to provide you a service. Yes, you may find a rate for a package or a flight that is $200 or $300 cheaper on a bigger site like booking.com or Expedia or one of those big box sites. But you are not going to get the service and value that you get if you were to book it with me. Plus, we have access to exclusive rates and deals and discounts that these other places do not. Also, we are going to be there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If something were to happen during the flight, during your vacation, we are going to be there and you are not going to have to deal with it. We are going to take care of all the details for you. We are going to take care of any issues that may be coming up or may come up during your trip so that you can just continue to enjoy your trip. Okay, Christine. Yeah. If there's an independent consolidator, send it to Steph. Steph will pass it on to me.
Just so we can look into it. like Mark said, I've done over $200,000 in flight sales in the last 15 months. So I like to be in the know. And when we do these flight trainings, we're able to train on those things if we know that they're there. So I'm happy to look into it and see what we can do. And then if we need to get them covered and approved by Archer, we can always do that as well by contacting our leadership. So yeah, definitely happy to look into that.
Yep. Vicky, I understand what you're saying, with $200 being a large amount, but again, it's value, because think about it this way. If Steph's family had not booked with her during that Southwest meltdown, they were the ones that were going to be stuck on hold with Southwest, basically to be told, you are out of luck. We can't do anything for you until Saturday when you can get out. You are the ones that are going to be stuck finding your own new accommodations, figuring out how to get to and from the airport in 3 days. All we can do is rebook you on these flights in 3 days, and you are going to be stuck doing it all yourself. So Steph, how long did you spend on the phone with Southwest for your
I was just going
parents?
to say that I was on the phone with them for 3.5 hours on a Tuesday. My family was in Hollywood Studios that day. Can you imagine taking 3.5 hours out of a park day with your kids and grandkids to be on the phone with Southwest because they can't get their stuff together? I would be so upset if my vacation was interrupted by that. So that I was on the phone with them for 3.5 hours just fixing this group. There were other people I had to fix as well. And you have to call back every time. As soon as a new client reaches out to you, you have to call back again. And then you're like, great, I get to be on hold again, right? We're going through the same thing this week and last week with the fires in Maui. We've ran into it with weather in Dallas, Texas. You never know what's going to go on, but your clients are not the only ones. So that's one of the biggest ways I try to sell myself is I can be on hold. I know exactly what's going on with your flights while you're out having a grand time on your vacation, guys. And that's the biggest thing that we can bring to our customers. But again, we also are on call for them 24 hours a day. And the dollar amount, Vicky, I want to iterate that you want to be considerate of your clientele, right? If I have I book some luxury clients, $200 is nothing to a luxury client, right? But $200 is a lot to a single mom trying to take her one child to Disneyland, right? So I'm going to consider that too. That's the great part about our flexibility as travel agents. If anyone ever calls me and says, I have a death in the family, or my mom is sick, or I need to get here for XYZ reason, and it's an emergency, I'm not charging them a dang fee at all because there's no reason to, right? Especially if it's domestic and I know that I can do it in 20 minutes, like Mark said. So you have the flexibility to consider the situation. And like I said, the first like 8 months that I was selling travel and flights, I didn't charge any fee at all because I had no idea that I was available to do that or that I was allowed to do that. So you kind of just want to consider the situation. A lot of people commit to the $25 upfront when they start on these fees for flights because it's a comfortable number. And when you don't charge a fee, there's a lot of times that people will go in and compare you to other travel agents. They'll compare your price, and then they may or may not book with you after you've spent all of this time on them. So I think it's important to charge a fee. And we've even come up with a new refundable system for me and my services. And one of my other junior business partners does that as well. You can't necessarily, you could do it on flights, but there's a lot of ways that you can approach it, but being an independent travel agent, you have so much flexibility. So definitely take advantage of that.
Yep. And Vicky, I understand that there are people who have used thousands on travel protection that they've never used, but it's that peace of mind too that you are giving them with the vacation protection, and those prices have come down. You never know what is going to happen on a trip. That could cover a $55,000 medical evacuation. You just never know what is going to happen on a vacation. And it's pennies on the dollar on a $10,000 vacation to Disney World for $295. That's pennies on the dollar. So just think about it that way. I mean, if people, and I know this is off topic from flights, but I still recommend if they are getting flights only, I still recommend travel protection, either through the airlines or through us on Tinleg, because we can get a decent rate because you never know what's going to happen. That would cover lost baggage. That would cover damaged baggage. That would cover an emergency medical expense for that trip. That would cover an emergency hotel for the insurance.
I'm sorry, I missed that piece about the insurance in that message. I thought we were referring to those fees, but if anybody wants to opt out of the coverage and, you know, release the liability, that is 100% okay. I don't book trips without the insurance unless it's for my husband, because I understand and I feel that liability too whenever something happens. And sometimes he's just stubborn. But aside from that, I don't prefer to book travel and trips without insurance because anything can happen. But if your client wants to opt out of that insurance, absolutely, by all means, let them do it. You just need to submit the form that says, hey, I'm releasing all liability from my travel agent and from myself, should anything happen on that trip.
Whoops, I just sent it direct to you, Steph. I'm going to send it to everybody. I'm sending the travel protection declination waiver to everybody so that you have it. Click on this link in the chat box, save it to your Google Docs and to your desktop or to your bookmarks, and use this. You must have this signed to cover yourself under errors and omissions insurance and fraud protection insurance. So if you have a client that declines travel insurance for whatever reason, they must sign this. All right, guys, it is 7:12 p.m. Do you guys have any last minute questions before we wrap this up? This has been a great training tonight. I am not seeing anything in the chat box. Nobody is unmuting. So yeah, Elena, thank you very much for being here. Well, thank you guys very much for being here tonight. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much to Stephanie Crosser for coming on tonight and talking about her flight experiences. She is a great asset for that as well. I'm going to go ahead and put my Facebook information into the chat box. If you guys have any other questions about flights, booking international and domestic air, or just want to chat, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook.
Mark,
Yes.
one quick question. When you were talking domestic air, you had a list of your favorite, I guess, airlines and ones that you prefer to stay away from. What
Mhm.
about for international? Do you have any specific ones internationally that you stay away from?
Not really.
Okay.
I watch a travel blogger named Noel Phillips, and he does on Facebook, and I would highly recommend going to watch his videos because he reviews airlines all around the world. So I would recommend watching his videos.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So Stephanie has put her Facebook information into the chat box as well. Feel free to follow us, guys. And if you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We're both trainers, leaders, and mentors on Team Sunset. We would love to talk shop with you guys if you have questions. Rachel, I did reach out to Justine, so hopefully she'll get in touch with you later on today. So,
Okay, great.
but if you guys don't have any other questions, thank you so much for being here tonight. This was a great training tonight. And if I don't see you guys on the beaches of the world, I will definitely be seeing you guys at the bank. We will talk to you guys soon.